People always ask me, why do you want to become a witch? Why should anyone want to become a witch? What do you get out of it? When I tell them you get peace and contentment and joy, they can't understand that. They want to know, don't you make money out of it? Well, I say you don't. Well, you must make money. Maybe you make spells to get yourself money. I say you don't. Well, you're always making spells to win football pools. I say you never. We should never do that. Why not? He said it's simply we're taught we mustn't do it. And we're taught the power comes from the gods. It mustn't be misused. If you can misuse your power, all right, but you lose it if you do. So it's as plain as that. No, of course, it isn't a thing that belongs to everybody. Some people have a sense of the old things, a desire for peace, a sense of wonder, and a sense of companionship and good fellowship. And that's what witchcraft gives you. Of course, it's everything to a man as it is. You know, there's an old story of a man. People like does attract like, you know. And of course, there's always the idea of getting better than the Jones, or using some of the Joneses to pull yourself up into a better place. Well, if you think of witchcraft will get you there, it won't. People have got the idea now that if you get your children into a good school, that it means that they'll get soft, well-paid jobs immediately, and they won't have to do any work. Well, that isn't true either. There's no doubt going to a good school does help some people. Most successful people never had any schooling at all. Well,
there is a question I'd like to ask you about that, Gerald, about...
Yes, well, stop the thing. Is the question a bit good?
Yes. Well, this is the question, Gerald.
Yes.
As a person that's interested in witchcraft,
yes,
I'd like to know what your secret is of obtaining magic power, making an actual idea come out and making it come into being. You know, performing a magic act.
Well,
your own idea.
Yes. Well, simply, when I want to do it, Pat does it, Pat knows it, I think everybody knows it. You've got to know exactly what you want. You've got to get in your mind exactly what you want. It's not a vague thing. I want John Jones to get well. You must know what's the matter with him, what particular part of him you want to treat. You've got to fix that very firmly in your mind. And you've got to get the people who are helping you to know what they're working at. Then, of course, it's a question of raising your nerve power. Well, there are many ways of raising nerve power. Of course, the simplest and probably the oldest one is dancing around and actually yelling and screaming helps. But of course, it's a thing that is apt to take your mind off things. And I simply, I haven't the breath to dance. So I got to work in other ways. Well, there are a number of ways you can work magic. I don't want to go into those because you will be taught, because these are secrets.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yes. Of course, another way, very old way of working magic is the Hindu yogi thing. That is, again, it's intense concentration, fixing your mind on the thing, sitting there. You've got to get yourself into one of these yoga positions. Immobilize yourself. You forget your body and only concentrate on that one thought. And work on that will and will and will and will. And of course they say it works. I don't know whether it does. I've never tried it. It's too much like hard work to me. But, of course, the thing is to try the form of magic that appeals to and find out if it works. I think the yoga system is too apt to lead to illusions. You do get, people get a great pleasure out of it because the concentration produces the effects of an opium dream. They have wonderful illusions and they enjoy themselves very greatly. If that's all you're working for, well, it's a cheap way of doing it. Of course, a lot of my countrymen do the same with a couple of bottles of whiskey. Of course, sometimes they have a headache the morning after. The yoga practice doesn't give you a head, but it generally gives you a very, very, very sore and aching back, and sometimes you have to almost have surgical operations before they can bend their arms, which is rather unpleasant. I wouldn't advise the Hindu system to Europeans, but it's one of the possible ways. But the thing is, lots of people tell me, if they will a thing fiercely enough, it comes off. Well, it may be so. I don't know. I can't say I've found it. There are lots of things I wanted very, very hard all my life. A lot of money. but I haven't had gifts, I've given magic gifts. Every money I make, I have to work for. And of course, that's what witches are taught. There's no reason why a witch shouldn't have money, but you've got to work for it. And of course, there are different types of work. I mean, there's one report I found that I told him that you mustn't take money for the useful craft. You mustn't take payment for curing a sick person or doing any working magic for any other way. And he wrote a long screed in the paper that I claimed that I didn't take money for working magic, and yet I charged for admission to the museum. Of course, I presume he thought that I should do some very hard job to get enough money to pay for all the rates and taxes and electricity bills, which are extraordinarily heavy, and all the cleaning, and all the guarding, and of course, the expense of looking after the staircase and taking money from visitors, because most people will nip up without paying if they get the chance. I suppose they think it's perfectly all right to diddle a witch if they can. Well, of course, that's the modern idea. And everybody applauds of so wonderful things for these people to burn the train and steal 2.5 million pounds. Mind you, it does look as if the money was left there but for the asking. Of course, you see, there is this extraordinary English idiotic habit, the idea that you must coddle a criminal in every way and make everything easy for him. You mustn't let the guards on that £2.5 million have a couple of shotguns. They must be at the mercy of a mob of men with arms iron bars who can beat them up or kill them if they resist in any way.